Welcome to ESVN, the Emma Sports Vigeland Network show. My name is Emma Vigeland, here to provide you with some spicy takes, recap this latest week in the NFL, as well as some other big sports news. I've got to say, I feel like the product this year in the NFL is one of the weakest that, in terms of years thus far, that it's been in a long time. Still enjoy it. It's still the NFL, so it's still fun as hell. But, you know, we've been saying this every week, hoping that a new team reemerges, and perhaps they will tonight on Monday Night Football. The Cincinnati Bengals might begin to look more formidable. But for now, the fact that these top three teams in the NFL have not changed at all provides a lot less drama than we've seen in recent years. But before I get into this, let me say hello to my producer and co-host, Bradley Alsop. Say hello, Bradley.
Hello. Hey, Emma, how's that Zach Wilson ceiling going?
Oh, man. I mean, if it makes you feel better to rip into me about defending Zach Wilson, go for it.
I was watching those three picks, and I was like, I wonder what Emma thinks about this.
Yeah, it was a really, really rough piece of timing to have defended Zach Wilson on this program last week and said, let's preach patience with him, and to have that kind of stinker of a performance. Now, we'll get into the Jets, but it is the Patriots. Bill Belichick eats young quarterbacks for lunch. He knows how to confuse people. So there's a glimmer of hope in that way, right?
Sure.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, Jets fans. No good things can ever happen for some reason.
I'm sorry, copyright. I was going to sing a song from Wicked, but
I bet no good deed goes unpunished. Zach Wilson had sex with his
truly no good deed
with his mom's friend allegedly.
Yeah,
and now
karma.
Look,
Zach.
I mean, hey, what did he get taught at BYU? There are sins. Did he respect the sanctity?
Did John Smith teach him nothing?
Exactly, right? I mean, what is it? It's the third what's the testament called that the Mormons believe in, that they found in like the 1800s in upstate New York?
Oh, I have no idea what it's called.
Well, I thought you were the musical theater nerd. You should be able to tell me
from Book of Mormon? Yeah, that's a bag fumble by me.
Well, anyway, so we'll talk about the Jets more, but Game 3 of the World Series is supposed to be playing tonight, but it's probably going to rain. It seems like that, if you don't mind checking on that, Bradley, for me. Phillies, they split the first two games in Houston, which is a huge win for them, especially because the pitching performances were not what they anticipated. And it was... Game 1 I didn't watch, but I mean, incredible.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah. I saw
crazy comeback.
I blinked and it was 5-0, and I was like, okay, I'm not tuning into this. It's over. This is what everyone said was going to happen. And then I checked the box score, and oh my goodness, they come roaring back. So that's got to be an incredibly exciting series, especially if you're a Phillies fan. And if it rains out tonight, then the MLB is terrified about the prospect of going up against the NFL, apparently, because then they would have to play Game 5 on Friday. Then Saturday would be the travel day, and Game 6 would be on Sunday, which is what they want to desperately avoid. So it's going to be interesting to see what scheduling they come up with. And I guess
especially if we get this rain delay, it would kind of
and Fox
tied up with each other.
And Fox carries the broadcast as well, so they don't want to go up on Sunday Night Football, and then if there's a game 7, that would be in the middle of Monday Night Football, which is what they really do not want to happen.
There's going to be a multinational conglomerate off.
Who
will win the day?
Of the advertising executives and the television moguls.
What of our ad buys? Crap.
Yeah, so pray for them, because Mother Nature is getting in the way of maximizing their profits. But some NBA headlines too. Zion Williamson returned. Good to see that he was not out for too long. 21 points, 12 rebounds in a win against the Los Angeles Clippers yesterday. Luka Doncic continues to be a one-man show in Dallas, scoring over 30 points in the first half of their last game against the Magic. Ended up finishing with 44 points, some of the headlines as well. To my chagrin, Donovan Mitchell is already exceeding the expectations that were set for him, which are quite high, were quite high. I wanted the Knicks to pull the trigger on that trade. Whatever, he wanted to be here in New York. I think that's clear. The Knicks still, I think, look competent and decent and fun, even though they fell apart to that very player, Donovan Mitchell. As soon as I saw them making mistakes in the fourth quarter, despite the fact that they were kind of nursing a 9-point lead for a while, I was like, all right, this is it. You know, they're falling apart, and I'm gonna tune into the Ranger game instead.
It's a negative space argument, but to dull your disappointment a little bit, as you were saying either last week or the week before, I echo the sentiments of our comrade Matt Leck that simply Mitchell is in a way better situation in Cleveland than he would have been in New York.
Yeah.
Having Evan Mobley's defensive presence as opposed to, like, you know, not to bag on my guy, but, you know, Mitchell Robinson
yeah.
Or receiving passes from Jared Allen as opposed to Julius Randle, I think definitely helps matters. And so I just think they have a lot more dynamic and kind of versatile players that the Knicks are kind of lacking. So I'm just even curious if he would still be as, you know, as effective as he has been on the Cavs so far.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I just feel like he would still be very effective.
Oh, of course, yeah, just by virtue of him being good.
And because Jalen Brunson is good, and he would not have been included in that trade package to Utah. They would still have that backcourt, and I think that would have been dynamic.
I do shudder at the thought of how much time Tom Thibodeau would deign to play Donovan Mitchell, though. I think Donovan Mitchell would be going out into a first round playoff series with a peg leg, maybe.
Donovan Mitchell's knees just speaking to the heavens personally. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so
that
much.
way we won't become grapefruits in 6 months.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm totally blanking on the name of thank you so much.
Who are you thinking of?
The GM of the president of the Jazz, who was the
Danny Ainge?
the Celtics. Yeah, Danny Ainge. Thank you so much, Danny Ainge. The Bucks are the only undefeated team in the NBA right now.
And as everyone predicted, the San Antonio Spurs are 5-2.
Right. I mean, what's
single
the
time.
Jazz's record now
let
too?
me
It's
check.
still surprisingly respectable. The Lakers have finally won, which is something. And they're
5-2. They're also 5-2. The Jazz are 5-2.
I know, a really unbelievable turn of events. But it's a long season, and
of course,
you know, once people get some more tape on those players, they'll regress. So
question.
Don't worry if you're a Spurs fan or a Jazz fan and you want to be tanking. But Brooklyn and the Lakers are both 1-5, which is fun for everybody except for the Lakers fans and no one else, because no one actually roots for the Brooklyn Nets. But
whoa,
let's actually talk about the Nets then a little bit more specifically and bring in our political acumen. I don't know if that's even
flexing it for 3 hours.
Yeah,
we're back.
We're
already back.
Because there is a real problem right now with resurgent, and it's not really resurgent because it's, I guess, been very thinly underneath the surface of our society, but with anti-Semitism. And part of it's because Kanye West decided, I'm going to go on an anti-Semitic rampage, and I'm wealthy enough where I don't care about it, and I don't necessarily think about the consequences because of his own mental health struggles, and he has yes men around him who are going to tell him whatever he wants to hear. Oh, it's so cool to hear about how how Jewish people broadly are evil in his kind of characterization. And Kanye, his explanation was, well, I had a Jewish doctor who wanted me to take my bipolar medication, and that was dulling my senses, and so now I am railing against all Jewish people. That's so obviously crazy that anybody with a lick of sense would understand that is not someone who you should follow. But the anti-Semites in this country didn't need anybody sane to follow. They just needed an excuse to say what they always felt about Jewish people. And frankly, Kyrie Irving is contributing to this problem as well. So basically, Kyrie tweeted a link to a film called Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. It is a book filled with anti-Semitic tropes. Some of the details of this book are disturbing, but it essentially pits black people in this country against Jewish people. And the Rolling Stone magazine wrote about it fairly extensively, but some of the themes in it are that black people are the real descendants of ancient Israelites. It's the kind of black Hebrew Israelite ideology, that they're the true chosen people of God, and that Jews are satanic or occult, which you'll hear Kyrie Irving say in this video, that they are controlling the world and industries like banking and the press and just classic hatred, vile anti-Semitic tropes. And Kyrie Irving was confronted about this in a press conference, and I believe this was after a loss, right? So extra
to the
prickly.
Pacers.
Yeah. Bradley says with kind of like a twinkle in his eye, because that just adds to the overall stench of this team and the distractions that this guy is creating in the locker room, let alone the hatred that he's promoting. And he has a really difficult time handling being held accountable for what he posted on social media here.
Kyrie, while we're on the topic of promotion, why did you decide to promote something that Alex Jones said?
That was a few weeks ago. I do not stand with Alex Jones' position, narrative, court case that he had with Sandy Hook, or any of the kids that felt like they had to relive trauma, or parents that had to relive trauma, or to be dismissive to all the lives that were lost during that.
Yeah, no need to put me up. I just wanted to make make a point here so that people point out how he only apologizes for Sandy Hook. He does not address the anti-Semitic, or he does. He's forced to because of the questioning by this reporter from ESPN, but he only initially apologizes for promoting Alex Jones because of the Sandy Hook conspiracy theories that Alex Jones spread, but not the, of course, anti-Semitism. So just a note for you all.
Relive trauma, or parents that had to relive trauma, or to be dismissive to all the lives that were lost during that tragic event. My post was a post from Alex Jones that he did in the early 90s or late 90s about secret societies in America of occults, and it's true. So I wasn't identifying with anything of being a campaignist for Alex Jones or anything. I was just there to post, and it's funny, and it's actually hilarious because out of all the things I posted that day, that was the one post that everyone chose to see.
Right.
It just goes back to the way our world is and works. I'm not here to complain about it. I just exist.
And to follow up on the promotion of the movie and the book.
Can you please stop calling it a promotion? What am I promoting?
Put it out on your platform.
But I'm promoting it? Do you see me in front of
putting it out there,
the
people
title?
are going to say that you are
Yeah, I put it out there just like you put things out there, right?
Yeah, but
okay.
It's not
you put things out there for a living, right?
Right, but my stuff is
so
not
let's move on.
filled
Let's
with
move on.
anti-Semitic
Let's
stuff.
move on. Don't dehumanize me up here.
I'm not doing that.
Another
You're
human
free to
being.
post
I can post whatever I want. So say that and shut it down and move on to the next question.
But Kyrie, you have to understand that
I don't have to understand anything from you.
It's not me.
Nothing.
By
It's no
posting
people that
what
you're
you
making
did,
up, bro. Move on.
But by posting
Move
what
on.
you
Next
did,
question.
anybody
Do
is
you guys have
going
any
to
more
look at
questions
it,
for
and
me?
they're going to say,
You guys have any more
does he have
questions? Because this is going to be a clip.
beliefs?
This is going to be a clip that he's going to marvel at. Is this any more questions?
But you're not answering the question.
Oh, this is another answering your question. Oh my God, let's make another Instagram clip so we could be famous again. Next question.
Kyrie, basketball related.
Yeah, well, he's pretty far gone. You know, it's one thing to promote anti-vax conspiracies. It's, to me, insane, but, you know, it's not necessarily filled with hatred for another group of people. And it's difficult for me to talk about because I don't want to be white lady speaking about how essentially this black man is being bigoted, because the relationship between black Americans and Jewish Americans in this country, they are all under the thumb of white supremacy and have experienced trauma and hatred in their own ways that are unique and should not be in conflict with one another. They should be in solidarity. And that is the fundamental problem with what someone like, what Kyrie Irving is promoting, is that it pits groups against one another and demonizes whole groups of people when, frankly, we should all be in solidarity to fight the patriarchy and white supremacy. And this absolutely does not accomplish that.
I can't tell if Kyrie is this dumb or if he thinks the people that he is talking to are this dumb. Nick Friedel, who did a good job in that exchange, the ESPN reporter, the reason why he used the word promote for when it came to that book in that movie is because the link that Kyrie Irving posted on his Twitter account was basically just a description of the movie and where you could purchase the movie.
It was the definition of a promotion. You may have not gotten paid for it, Kyrie, but you still there's free promotion and there's paid promotion.
If I gave someone five chances to describe a tweet that I put out of our YouTube video, what do you that I want people to consume, and ideally at some point maybe we monetize this for example, what would people say? And if they said the word promote, would I be like, oh, actually no, you're a massive dumbass for thinking that's a promotion, and you're actually dehumanizing me, so I'm just going to be a massive asshole to you in response. There's no daylight between being a free thinker like Kyrie is and being essentially a petulant brat who isn't capable of actually responding to good faith substantive criticism. And the reason why he's asking you to answer the question is because you can't actually articulate an argument in response.
Well, he might, but he would get into trouble. That's the thing, is he has this very legalese kind of response to Sandy Hook in particular, where he parses that and makes it so that's the only thing that he's gonna distance himself from in this way, because there's a Alex Jones is going to be in debt for the rest of his life because of what he said about Sandy Hook. Kyrie doesn't want to touch that. Maybe behind the scenes he feels a certain way about it because he's conspiracy minded. He's people thought he was joking about flat Earth. No, he
certainly wasn't.
He certainly wasn't. I mean, he might have said that publicly to save face, but now he's gotten even further down the rabbit hole. And so this is an extremist ideology, and you can be a part of groups that have been disenfranchised and marginalized in this country, systemically discriminated against because of the fact that because of chattel slavery and all of the racism that came from that. I believe in reparations. I believe in affirmative action, aggressive anti-racism, but you also have to believe in combating bigotry against Jewish people, because there was a genocide not less than 100 years ago of millions of Jewish people. And so this is not something we're playing around with here, dude. I would be terrified to hear what he actually thinks about the Holocaust. And
notice the pedantry that he gives in return to Nick Friedel that he doesn't apply to himself. What proof? It seems for some reason that Nick Friedel needs to prove that his job as a journalist is putting things out there. But Kyrie Irving can just say Alex Jones's video about the occult and secret societies is true with no need or no inclination to corroborate a single part of that statement. He can just say it's true, and because he says it's true, and because he's a so-called free thinker that people don't want to have the conversations that he wants to have, people don't want to, have the dialogue that he wants to have, that everyone else is wrong but him. It is so much easier to think that this guy is the smartest person in the room and that no one else can get on his level than it is to actually to engage with literally anyone else who thinks something differently than he does. It's almost as if he needs a safe space for the things that he thinks, and that he does not want to answer questions because it would involve actually questioning anything he actually believes. And you know who are those so-called fake people that Nick Friedel is making up that would be concerned about him posting this stuff, it would also be the owner of the team. And listen, I'm not pro ownership. I don't give a crap about Joseph Tsai.
Yeah, right.
But that dude cashes your checks, Kyrie. So you might want to think about what he has to say about when he's tweeting literally you and name checking you, saying I need to sit down with this guy to discuss why it's so damaging for him to do this. I wouldn't think you'd necessarily think that guy's a faker or that guy's a phony because he's the one who actually pays your salary.
Well, that's the thing is the NBA needs to do something here, and they need to sanction him.
Maybe let's not focus on the tampering with PJ Tucker, and maybe let's focus on what's going on here a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, but like, this is the same thing in the NFL. The Miami Dolphins did not get their first round pick this year stripped away from them because of the clear and obvious racial discrimination against coaches like Brian Flores and against Brian Flores in particular. We're seeing it across the league, by the way. Still, Lovie Smith hired to tank. He'll get fired soon. Interim coach Steve Wilkes in Carolina will be gone after this year. Black coaches who are hired to preside over losing teams. Check a box, and then do away with you. And it doesn't matter what that does to your career when it's on your record forever. What your record was in the NFL, well, hey, we checked a box here. But I digress. The Miami Dolphins were not punished for that racial discrimination. They were punished for tampering with Tom Brady. And so the NBA is a lot better than the NFL, frankly, on these kinds of issues, but still, they're always slow on the uptake. And I just want to give a few more details about what was in this article because it really is deeply disturbing, frankly. When he talks about the occult there, these sects claim that Jewish people worship Satan, that they are behind, say, some of the conspiracies about drinking blood. It's like a step away from blood libel, which we also see in the United States when it comes to the QAnon folks. I mean, these are the waters that he's swimming in right now, but he's just doing it with like a Black Hebrew Israelite framing. And so we just have to reiterate that equality and tolerance, I hate that word, but acceptance is probably a better word, and understanding of people more broadly, it's not a zero-sum game. And so you should not treat it as something that's finite. And that is one of the fundamental flaws of the way that Kyrie Irving is presenting this. So, deeply disappointing.
Forgive me for my rancor there, but my biggest problem with all of this stuff is not even the substance, which of course, without having to qualify it in any way, is repugnant. It's also the complete cognitive dissonance that these guys put forward. Guys like Kyrie Irving or Kanye West, these people who think that they are forging a path because they are co-signing something offensive and think it's dumb when people get offended by them co-signing something offensive. It's the ability to take responsibility for this thing, and when they're questioned by it, drop it like it's a hot potato. Like, oh, like actually it's your problem, not mine.
Right.
You're the one who has the issue, not me. There's no reciprocity for any of their thought processes.
Is Nick Friedel Jewish?
I'm not sure, but
okay.
Maybe, I don't know. I would have to look that up. But
it's
just
some of the way he was talking to him. It made me get.
No, yeah, and also, I'm sure there. Listen, I guarantee you, in this press scrum, there are Jewish reporters. There's no doubt that, unfortunately, Kyrie wading into these waters is personal to people around him. It's personal to the people who are in this ecosystem in the NBA, and it just is so frustrating to watch somebody basically promote this stuff. Yes, promote this stuff, and then act completely aggrieved when someone questions him for it, as if he has zero responsibility to anybody, while then also taking responsibility for supposedly co-signing something that is true because Alex Jones posted about secret societies in the occult. So you're the only person who's allowed to think something is true, and nobody else is allowed to think it's not true, I guess.
Apparently.
Seems like we can't have an honest dialogue here, an open dialogue. Seems like maybe someone is being silenced for their beliefs.
Free exchange of ideas, Kyrie. Let's go. Let's exchange ideas.
When Kyrie is interrupting every single thing Nick Friedel is saying to basically say, shut the hell up, it doesn't seem like there's a huge flowing exchange of ideas there. So interesting take on free speech from Kyrie Irving in that exchange, but. We'll see if the NBA, we'll see if the so-called, the best run this league, this league. We'll see if they do a single fucking thing about this.
Yeah. I'm more hopeful than you. They might, but Kyrie Irving was like willing to sit out when he wasn't vaccinated and lose millions of dollars. So maybe I don't know. He's this far gone. I have no idea.
Yeah, we'll see.
But let's talk a bit about the NFL now. We are around halfway through the season. Week 8 is wrapping up tonight, and the NFL is now 17 games. But teams play 16 with a bye week. And at this point in the season, I think it's fair to ask this question about the 2021 NFL quarterback draft class, at least the first round picks from that class, because Jalen Hurts was picked in the second round, and he's having a great year. Was he picked in the second round of this draft, or am I wrong? Actually, I might be wrong.
He was the 2020 draft.
I apologize. Yes. Okay.
I had a similar thought, but he's the 2020 draft.
Okay, so the 2021 NFL quarterback draft class. Let's see how these guys are doing here. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we had 3 quarterbacks taken in the first 3 picks. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. Then we have Justin Fields and Mac Jones. Mac Jones, who ended up making the Pro Bowl last year and had a really good season under Josh McDaniels. McDaniels is gone now, and Mac Jones did not look good against the Patriots yesterday. Against the Jets yesterday, despite winning that game. That run game that the Patriots have going is really hard to stop, and it kind of doesn't matter who's behind center at that point. But all 5 of those guys, man, not looking good, even though I thought Justin Fields did pretty well yesterday against the Dallas Cowboys, but he still has some processing stuff and head-scratching decisions that don't make sense to me. But I think
that's basically a thematic consistency through all of them. Even though I think
Justin Fields' athleticism of all of those guys is so legit. He runs. People still don't fully understand how good of an athlete Justin Fields is. I know he looks like he's made chiseled out of stone. To be an athlete, that's kind of the way that he's built. He could probably play basketball or baseball and have a lot of success as well, but that still sticks out to me, and that would be exciting to me as an offensive coordinator if I was working on one of these teams. But the rest of those guys,
227. He's bricked up. He's so strong and fast.
Strong. But the thing about the rest of them is that I've been defending Zach Wilson. I've been defending Trevor Lawrence, and I thought that he looked good to start this year, and his arm strength looked better. The way that the ball was coming out of his hands looked prettier. He has a strong arm. He has touch, but he makes some really dumb decisions a handful, if not more times, every single game. In the Giants game last week, he just threw it to one of our secondary players, just straight there. And there was no one in the area. Shocking given the hype that he got going into the draft, which I did not buy, but I still thought he'd be a very good pro, and thus far it's not clicking.
I'm still pretty bullish on Lawrence. I think that I just think the poise in the pocket, the best throws that he has are like absolutely unbelievable throws. I think it might have been week 3 or 4. I'm not remembering which, but he had this throw in the back of the end zone on the left side to Marvin Jones that was just literally you couldn't have placed it more perfectly. There was over a defender. It was nuts to watch. But then, like you said, Then in a bad weather game, he has 4 fumbles. Actually 5. He recovered one. And then even 2 weeks ago, he struggled to, with ball security and with like kind of making some head scratching decisions, like you said, and not looking nearly as good as he did the first 3 weeks. And then when he was playing against the Giants, I'm still hopeful for him, but I think it's tough because we saw what it could look. We saw what the apex, or at least what the ceiling was in these 8 weeks of like a really quarterback friendly offense via Doug Peterson could do for him, and it's now I think more concerning that's not continuing to develop. If anything, he's regressing.
Oh yeah, well,
it's seeming to get less easy for him as the season goes on.
He was talked about as the next Peyton Manning. All right, let's be real about this. He has nowhere close to the mental processing ability, and
that's a hard bar to reach.
Totally, but that was the high. I mean, this is what I hate about the draft is that the Mel Kiper and draft analysts decide, oh, this is the guy.
You look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, right. And it's all based on college winning performance for the most part. I mean, they didn't hype up Patrick Mahomes in the same way because he went to Texas Tech, or, it's a lot of it's based on if you're playing in the SEC and if you're successful in the SEC or the Big Ten, and then you get the draft hype. And I always thought it was disproportionate with Trevor Lawrence. That Clemson team was stacked, and he looks good. I thought he'd be a good pro. I did not ever think he was going to be a Peyton Manning-like superstar, and frankly, that's showing right now. He needs to be managed a little bit. There are just, as I said, 5-6 throws a game where it's completely off target and usually overthrown when he's out of timing, he doesn't see secondary players who are, going for the ball, and it's created some turnovers for him.
And I think that's the big thing, though, is that the touch, like you said, the touch of the ball is there, the footwork is there, which is honestly, coming from a Jets fan, one of the hardest things to get right early. The processing speed and the consistently right decision making needs to just follow that. If the few traits that he has that I think are genuinely like excellent to elite level almost can be followed by some of the ones where it just seems like he's not making the connection there, like with processing, with reading routes, with reading coverages, I think he could be really great. It's clear that certain skills are exceeding others.
Yeah.
That certain ones are not matching or equalizing with others there.
I'm not writing him off at all, and I'm still not writing Zach Wilson off. I'm sorry to say, but I know that might be I've basically written Trey Lance off.
I mean, it's hard to know. I mean, it's we've barely seen the guy play. It's so hard to even have an evaluation.
But like
that might be the problem.
That's the defense, and it's a bad defense in my opinion, because I know it's tough, right? It's tough that he hasn't played, but they knew that when they drafted him 3rd overall and traded up for him, that he barely played at North Dakota State. So that also is a part of a player, that they have the experience to understand what coverages are being called, and an ability to understand how defenses work and how to command an offense. And it's not just the mental stuff with Trey Lance that bothers me. It's the way his throwing looks. His throwing by far is the worst of all of those guys in the first round: Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. All 4 of those guys are way ahead. I think if Justin Fields went to the 49ers, they would be a much more dynamic offense than they are with Trey Lance and Mac. But then Mac is like a better version of Jimmy Garoppolo, and it seemed like,
he's not nearly as explosive. Like, you're not getting explosive plays from Mac.
I mean, I'm sorry. Like,
but Justin Fields, I think
Justin Fields is a more dynamic athlete than Trey Lance. He looks way better running the football. Trey Lance is stiff.
But imagine the RPO diet that like Shanahan would be giving Justin Fields. Like in terms of, easy routes for him to clock, most likely. I mean, because as we've said before, the Nick Mullins defense, at least for me, there are few more quarterback-friendly offenses in the league than Kyle Shanahan's.
Yeah.
And then giving him all of the run options, the run packages that are his bread and butter, like that make it so that basically a potted plant can start at behind center in the backfield for Kyle Shanahan and get maybe 800 yards a season. Like it's tantalizing to me to think of what it could have been if they had chosen Fields and not Lance.
It would be the same kind of concept that they're trying to run with RPOs and just a dominant rushing attack where you're able to control possession and get chunk plays through the run game, but with a better player who has more experience in a system that, again, it's all a mix, right? I'm never going to be the person that says, oh, just take Bryce Young over Will Levis because of the college team that they're on. In fact, I think Will Levis might be the best quarterback in this draft class. As of now, that's how I feel. But if you are trying to win now and you do want a quarterback that has that athletic upside, to me, I just am talking myself more into it. Justin Fields would have been the pick there, but we are kind of looking backwards. I understand that. Point is, Mac Jones, maybe he can get it together. This system, this offensive system is not friendly to him. He seems disgruntled about it, understandably so, being run by two guys that have never run an offensive system before, in Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. But of all of those guys, based on expectation and based on what they have to work with, maybe Justin Fields is the best of the bunch right now. Is that crazy to say? And perhaps it's recency bias because he's looked really bad in the first, 4 weeks of the season, and he looked a lot better against the Cowboys and in the game before that against the Vikings, right?
Right. Let me just double check their schedule, but he's definitely looked. I think he's certainly been improving basically every week. I feel like he's honestly just been getting.
Oh no, it was the Patriots.
Right. So the Pats and then the Cowboys,
Commanders and the Vikings, and
yeah,
he looked very good in the Patriots game, and he looked pretty good in the Cowboys game too.
I would still hold out for Lawrence as being the best potentially because as you said, I don't think either of us are giving up on him, but I just think the ceiling is higher for Lawrence right now, just given the scheme that he's in. I just don't trust Matt Eberflus as the guy to unlock Justin Fields' offensive potential, whereas I think Doug Peterson can still be the guy, at least for now, to get Lawrence to be kind of one of the better versions of himself. I think he would probably really benefit from a slightly more younger, newer age offensive coach. Not like a Cliff Kingsbury or anything like that. I mean like a Chiefs style coach or a Dable style coach. But I certainly think now, given what we've seen this season from Zach Wilson, what we haven't seen from Trey Lance, as well as what we've seen from Mac, I would definitely say Fields is second.
Right. And Lawrence, I do have faith that he'll put something together and he'll be a decent pro. I've always maintained that. And he also has the thing that I feel he has size, where Zach Wilson does not. Right. Zach Wilson looks small out there. That's the thing that concerns me the most.
What concerns me the most is he drops back 19 steps, runs to the right for no reason, like he's being controlled by a PS4 controller that's malfunctioning. Stares down 3 open receivers and then throws it to a Patriots defensive back who was not one of those 3 open receivers. That's what's concerning me recently.
Well, he played more conservatively in that Broncos game.
I think he might have been worse in the Broncos game.
Okay.
Because even though he didn't have the picks, there were a few throws where he definitely should have had those picks. Those just came home to roost against the Patriots defense that was excited to devour him.
Okay. Besides Lamar Jackson, Patriots defense eats young quarterbacks alive. We know this. Keep going. The Jets looked bad. But so did Mac Jones, right?
It's true that he didn't look great either. The difference was the Patriots had Ramondre Stevenson and the Jets did not.
Who's a star?
And
if Belichick is insistent, and look, he's, to his credit, Ramondre's been getting in more of a snap count as the weeks have gone on.
You mean as opposed to like Damian Harris?
I'm like losing my mind when he puts Damian Harris out there. And early on in the season, he was basically
and he's
splitting
doing it at the
touches.
goal line a lot too. He's literally getting to the red zone, and then instantly Ramondre goes off the field. If I'm a fantasy owner, I would be going insane.
Ramondre Stevenson is clearly more talented than Damian
without
Harris.
question.
Let's
He's also
go.
younger.
I mean, I know that they're committed to no pun intended, committed to a running back by committee backfield, but they've got to ride the hotter hand at this point. And maybe this is Bill Belichick and or maybe this is Patricia and Judge as well. I don't know who's calling the shots up there because it's like the military, and apparently we can't know anything. But Ramondre's a star. Ramondre's a star, and I hope to see more of him. But that was a depressing game because both young quarterbacks looked out of their depth and confused. Zach Wilson was getting booed by the fans at MetLife, and I can't imagine that feels good. So I hear what you're saying. There isn't a lot of hope right now, but he hasn't played a ton of football. He was injured last year. He was injured this year, coming in and out of the lineup, dealing with I don't know, some adversity, a difficult defense in this situation. I feel like you should reserve judgment until we get a few more weeks of him actually playing and getting used to playing in the NFL. He has a great arm. That's something to work with. And maybe if he scrambles a little bit more effectively, they can have some more dynamism.
My problem is
the
issue I have primarily is that the instincts to do something are there. They are the wrong instincts. He has the instinct to do something with his feet, but it's the wrong instinct with his feet. He doesn't see gaps to then use his feet to scramble forward. He scrambles backwards or sideways and then throws up like really off target, really inefficient, high variance balls that are not going either to anybody or anybody on his team.
Yeah.
And he also has the instinct. He has the instinct to look for receivers, but when he looks, he then stops looking.
Yeah. He
finds
in.
them and then stares at them.
Yeah.
And a guy like Devin McCourty, he's been around the block. He knows when there's a young quarterback who's not going through his reads. He's staring at that guy. I'm gonna ruin his life.
You can teach that a little bit to an extent. Daniel Jones was doing that for the first few years of his career, locking in, and sometimes guys are too reliant on their physical ability. Zach Wilson's probably had the best arm in his little league and in high school and in college forever throwing the football. So you feel like, yeah, he can make any throw, and he has to get used to some of the mental processing stuff. You would think that Lawrence would be ahead of that, and maybe he is, but as opposed to Zach Wilson. But I understand feeling pessimistic. It's not that long into his NFL career, so you can be patient with him. You can be. It's okay.
I understand, but the problem I have is is you get to a point where the hype about a good offseason, the hype about a good draft.
They're 5-3, Bradley. They're 5-3. They have a winning record for the first time in forever.
They're 5-3, and their last two wins, their last two games, they have looked like a pretty bad NFL team.
I don't agree. Bad NFL teams don't find ways to win. They found ways to win.
LaMarcus Joyner can't tackle anybody, and he is their starting linebacker.
Okay. All right.
Like all I'm saying is it's an overperformance. It's not emblematic of a.
Same with the Giants, but you teach these guys, young guys, how to win.
But the Giants look better coached.
Well, that's true.
The Giants look like they are on the same page with each other.
Yes.
The Giants process looks more seamless than the Jets does.
You're right. And let me just touch on the Giants and the Seahawks game. We just had a long majority report show, so excuse me if my mental processing is a little behind. But I'm not even mad about that Giants loss. Definitely Daniel Jones' worst game of the year. But my overall reaction was this was the first time this year where Brian Daboll was outcoached. You could see it in from the jump, really, Pete Carroll defensively just had a total and complete understanding of kind of the little tricks that Dable and Kafka have in their offense. And, you know, when you have Darius Slayton as the leading receiver and Daniel Bellinger is out and Wan'Dale Robinson is kind of in a very specific role in the offense, and then Richie James fumbles two returns, the idea that he was still in the game is shocking to me, and that's only one of the ways that Dable was outcoached this game. But defensively, that's really where it stood out to me. Pete Carroll just was not giving the Giants anything for their kind of standard set of plays. He had a good read on that stuff. So they'll go into the bye very unhealthy, hopefully get healthier. Evan Neal was out. As I mentioned, Bellinger was out. So for a rookie tight end, he's had an enormous impact on that team. They'll go back to the drawing board and come up with some more plays, but definitely Daniel Jones' worst game of the year, in my opinion. And also definitely, I think, Brian Dable's worst game of the year. So plus Geno's just efficient and looks good.
He's doing great. I mean,
happy for him.
So not to make
truly
everything
one of my favorite stories in the NFL this year.
Not to make everything about the team I root for, but to your point, if Zach Wilson was playing like Geno Smith played, the Jets, I think, would be actually convincingly a top 10 team.
Well, Geno is a veteran player who knows how to actually play in the NFL.
Who was also bad for the Jets.
Right. Well, it's just the fish rots from the jet down.
the green jersey down.
Yeah, I guess what's the body of the plane rots from the cockpit.
Oh, is that? I've never heard that.
No, I made that up.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like,
I'm going with a jet metaphor.
I was like, that is not a time-worn adage that I'm familiar with, actually.
It is not. It is certainly not. But in your instance, that's the case.
That's right. Exactly. But when I was watching a bit of the game is what we've been talking about with him is like he is really proficient at basically everything. Mm-hmm. He's not like a standout at anything.
No.
But what that leads to is he has impeccable footwork. His feet are never in the wrong place. He gets through his reads incredibly quickly, and he finds the open guy with a good throw almost every time.
And he's efficient, not in the way that, say, Alex Smith was efficient.
Yeah, it's not check downs.
It's not check downs. He knows when to take shots.
Totally.
And he knows when to be more conservative.
He had a few great balls down the sideline to DK Metcalf that were just like, he trusted DK to make the play against a single corner, and the trust was rewarded that he would just get chunk plays from just making the right throw to the right guy.
And he would have had a better statistical game if Tyler Lockett didn't fumble at the goal line and also drop a massive pass. Adoree Jackson broke up a play. I think that was
some
Tyler
good
Lockett.
PBUs from those Giants DBs. Fabian Moreau looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Julian Love still looks pretty good. As we said, I think I still think Jackson's the best guy in the secondary.
Yes,
but it's nice to see the depth guys.
Yes, Moreau's brought stability at the cornerback 2 position with Aaron Robinson out. And the secondary for the Giants was supposed to be like the worst position group in their linebacking course, terrible too, but going into the year. And they
were real concerned.
Certainly
huge concern.
They've certainly exceeded expectations. Adoree Jackson's having a career year. So
who's the rookie again? Emma McDowell. What's his name? McFadden?
Micah McFadden.
Yeah, he had a few good plays. Mm-hmm. I was happy to see him getting some run. That was nice to see.
And the Giants rookies have been decimated by injuries for the most part, but Dane Belton and Micah McFadden, 2 later round picks. I believe Belton was a 4th rounder, McFadden was either a 5th or 6th. They have been contributing, and it speaks to the coaching staff, but you forget, like, Pete Carroll might be the oldest not starting, but head coach in the league. But he got thrown under the bus way too much now that we're realizing, because Russell Wilson was holding that offense back clearly.
Did you see that quote?
Definitively. What
Did
quote?
you see the Tyler Lockett quote?
No.
Hold on, let me find it. I'm so sorry. I totally thought you saw this.
No. Were we texting about this?
I think I can play it. Give me a sec.
All right, we'll play it
It's worth
because
playing.
that's amazing. But Pete Carroll, you can't say enough good things about him. I will say one negative thing about him. He had Jordan Peterson speak to their team, but other than that, he knows how he's not an old, he might be an older head coach, but he's not old school in the sense that he just does what he does. He changes his game plan and evolves throughout the season. And so I appreciate that about him. So Seahawks are just a likable team. And unless the Giants are facing them in the playoffs, I will be rooting for the Seahawks for sure. So I saw this press conference because Geno Smith stood up there with DK and Tyler Lockett and then said thank you to Ben McAdoo.
With Sandy
and
Hook
to
or
Jerry
any of the
Reese.
kids that felt like
It's okay.
they had to relive trauma, or parents that had
That's
to relive
Kyrie
trauma.
Irving. I think the biggest. It's okay. Twitter player, maybe can you guys figure out a system where it is not Elon please, where it's not autoplay and it doesn't restart every time you play a video, it restarts all the way through. But anyway, all right, I'm going into this cold. Here's Tyler Lockett standing up there with Geno Smith and DK Metcalf. And I guess this is related to Russell Wilson, who ended up actually winning this weekend in London, saving his head coach's job probably. Let's see.
Well, I think the biggest thing is it's amazing what we can accomplish when nobody cares who gets the credit. You know, my high school coach used to always talk about that, basketball coach. And when you look at this team that we have, I mean, we have a bunch of guys that are willing to buy in. When you look at the rookie class, like they probably haven't said 500 words since they've been here. Like they just put their head down and work, like literally, and they listen. They do whatever you want them to be able to do, and they go out there and they shine each and
All right, so that was not subtle at all. Wow. It's true though. Oh man, I would be.
It's great to see what can happen when your quarterback isn't a selfish asshole
Isn't, praying.
who pisses everybody off.
Did you see he did a prayer circle after? I
Oh
woke
yeah,
up
oh
at
yeah,
freaking-
with the headphones on.
Oh, yeah, but then after the game, he had to do a prayer too with some of his teammates in the middle of the field. And KJ Hamler went up to Russell Wilson, like dapped him up and was being nice to him and
like,
stuff,
"I hate you."
which was shocking given how obvious it is that they all hate him. But winning cures all, and maybe behind the scenes, Russell Wilson has done some stuff to appeal to his teammates. But at the same time, you just can see there's a lot of pent up resentment about Russell Wilson, and
You think Russ did a British Broncos country this week? It's like Broncos country, let's ride.
yeah, he's like, have you seen Bridgerton? I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I'm
dangerous.
dangerous. No, I'm starting to feel a little bad. I feel a little less bad now that they won over the weekend. But this is just an example of some of locker room resentment that can breed when a guy gets paid way, 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 way more than the rest of the team.
It's also like week 8, and these Seahawks guys are like still a little annoyed with him.
Oh yeah,
Which is like, that's also, I think, like this has staying power. Like they're still like Lockett still feels incumbent upon himself to be like,
Richard Sherman is not even in the league
He's
anymore,
literally not
and he still
playing.
fumes thinking about Russell Wilson. But this is an example of the kinds of locker room resentment that can breed from that kind of thing, and especially if there is a perception that Super Bowl win that you had was a lot more on the defense than it was on you, and yet you are God's gift to earth. No pun intended. Based on his. He named his son like Chosen or something. I just okay.
awesome, epic.
Yeah, right. Cool dude. So this the kind of example where I think that can create a lot of toxicity, and so now the Broncos have to deal with it. And then look at the contrast there. Geno Smith doesn't have some trademark phrase. Stand up there, act like he's
It's Geno time.
a politician. Well, I honestly should eat my words, because apparently he said that they wrote me and I wrote back thing and tried to trademark it. So actually he does have a
Okay,
trademark
so he
thing.
is trying to do it.
Regardless, that's just athlete stuff. But when someone's a part of the locker room, you can tell they love Geno Smith. You can tell they want to play together. There's cohesion, and that is a real thing in sports, and that's why we love sports. We don't love sports just to see one selfish asshole flexing on everybody else. We watch sports because we like the team and the camaraderie and people coming together. And the Seahawks are fun. They're fun. I like them a lot.
It's also cool to like see like you said, like a quarterback be out there with like his two receivers as opposed to just like, I mean, as opposed to either just being, I mean, I have no idea how these things like are sequenced, or like if it's like or if there's like an organizing principle around who goes out when for like post game interviews or whatever. But like, I'm always seeing Russ by himself. Well, I don't know if that's like on purpose or not.
He's by himself on the sidelines. He's by himself in the press conference.
And it's like, for even like regardless of like the intentionality, just like seeing the two kind of like parallels here, it's like cool to see the QB with his two wide receivers and they're all answering questions from the same mic. It's just much more of like a collective moment, it seems, which is like fun to see.
Oh, and
the Seahawks team is genuinely like you were saying, like a genuinely heartwarming and like fun, good story. Like they're playing so much better than we thought they were going to.
And I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Chosen was a dumb name that was chosen by Cam Newton for his child.
Oh, got it.
Win is the name of Russell Wilson's son.
W-I-N?
Mm-hmm. Not W-Y-N-N.
Okay.
Win, like, know, the 3 wins that the Broncos have at week 8 in the season.
Oh, whoa.
Kind of like that.
Bang. His other child name, Broncos Country, that's right, Wilson.
Oh, boy. All right, we will be taking calls probably in around a half hour and reading your IMs, but we still have some games to get into and also some news. We did not touch on this up front, but Roquan Smith has been traded to the Baltimore Ravens for a 2nd-round pick and a 5th-round pick. I think that's actually really good value for a player on an expiring contract for the Chicago Bears, who, Ryan Poles is going to want to rebuild this team in his image, and that's going to require selling off some assets. And they're not. I thought that the Giants would be in this position to trade some players, but they're winning, so they're probably just going to stand pat, I would imagine, even though there's been some rumors that they're in the trade market for Brandon Cooks. I don't understand that, but regardless, I just feel like it's a good move for them, and he was not going to re-sign in Chicago, it seems like, given the way that negotiations went with Poles and the fact that Roquan Smith represents himself, which always creates a level of emotion in some of these negotiations that might be a bit abated when you have an agent as a go-between. But regardless, Roquan Smith no longer a Chicago Bear, and at least for the rest of this season, he'll be a Baltimore Raven. And he's a perfect fit for that defense. That defense has not lived up to its normal standard with the departure of Wink Martindale. And just some personnel issues on that side of the ball. I mean, I still think their secondary is not very good, even though I saw Kyle Hamilton made some plays in that Thursday night football game. Safety out of Notre Dame, 1st-round pick. But, and
it's one of those things where it's not as if they don't have talented guys. I mean, Chuck Clark is talented. Marcus Peters is talented.
But
Kyle
they're
Hamilton,
older.
They're older, and it's a combination of like you said, kind of like veterans aging, but also young guys still like finding their footing.
Right.
And
I guess
while you see flashes,
Brandon Stevens isn't older, but Marcus Peters is.
And while there is, you see flashes, but then there's also times where you see them get burned or see like a kind of a boneheaded penalty or an unnecessary penalty. And I think even beyond the secondary concerns, they've struggled to get a consistent pass rush going, a consistent kind of either 4-man rush or blitz going where they're actually getting pressure on the quarterback. So And it's kind of a similar thing there too, because they have the older guys in Justin Houston and Calais Campbell, and then they have just
Jason Pierre-Paul, they signed off the street.
and then guys like Justin Madubuike who are much younger and kind of similar things.
Or Odafe Owe,
yes,
who's coming on a little bit more, right? That's
I'm confident in him. It just I think it's
yeah. Well, it's too much on him. That's the thing. And so
exactly.
Even now that I think about it more, there's even more age on their defensive line with Calais Campbell.
Yeah,
and
sure,
Houston.
yeah.
So what this does is it takes some pressure off of Owe. Patrick Queen will be able to kind of do his thing now that he has some help.
And ideally not have to constantly be dropping back into coverage, because that's they've been burned. They've had a few plays where they've really just been burned because Queen has basically been kind of targeted in one-on-one situations.
But he's improving too. They're seemingly finding their footing, and then this is Roquan Smith is a top 5 linebacker, interior
totally.
linebacker
He's a fantastic
in the NFL.
player.
And so that could be a really dynamic linebacking group for this year, and if they re-sign him, that could be really exciting.
And I think it could give them some real lineup versatility defensively, where he's a pretty all-around player. I trust him. I would trust him mostly in coverage, and honestly, and when he can get home, he's a great blitzer. So I think it's a really good pickup for them to kind of shore up a weakness and kind of bring also not just a high intensity, highly skilled guy, but clearly a high character guy, high IQ guy, someone to just really comprehensively fit up their defense a little bit. And I think it also goes to show that regardless of some of their struggles, they're only trying to improve. They're not giving up on the season. They're trying to remain competitive.
They should trade for a receiver. I mean,
I think they must.
Rashad Bateman injured. Then you can't have Devin Duvernay.
Mark Andrews isn't even fully healthy.
Andrews
who's their offensive fulcrum essentially.
And now we're going to rely on a very talented but still a rookie, Isaiah Likely, to kind of carry this team. Too much on Lamar.
Totally.
Too much always on Lamar. And even the way that Greg Roman designs the passing offense, you see this regression now because they catch on. Teams catch on.
Insane.
There is no creativity in the passing
I don't
game.
understand why he is employed still.
Because of Lamar?
Because
Lamar carries the team. It's like why was Mike McCarthy still employed as the head coach of the Packers for so long? Well, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, why did Ben McAdoo become the head coach of the Giants? Aaron Rodgers. He was his quarterback's coach, and then he became OC, and then whatever, and then Odell.
Yeah, right. It's it's a lot of these chain reactions, kind of taking a sample, being this guy was really great for a season, or this guy, so we might as well give him a much larger role and see what he does well.
Well, I think that we've almost even evolved from that point too, where at least there are coaching trees that are bearing fruit on the offensive side of the ball. Since McAdoo was the head coach of the Giants, which was 10 years ago at this. No.
6? Yeah.
Because that was the boat party season.
Oh yeah.
The
back.
And other guys like that. There's been and I think it's the Mahomes effect, an explosion of an understanding of what it means to be an offensively creative mind.
Totally.
And Shanahan has helped with that, and McVay has helped with that as well. So I feel like there's less of that effect, but with Greg Roman, I feel like he is being carried by the run game, and I think that the run game could be a lot more effective. This is not a 49ers run game where the blocking and the zone is so creative that you just don't know where it's coming from, and it could be that. And then the passing offense is just very subpar. So I want Lamar to succeed. I want Lamar to win the Super Bowl. Nothing would make me happier except if the Giants won one. So I think Greg Roman needs to be looked at with a bit more of a side eye, but regardless, still good news for the Ravens organization to have Roquan.
You're absolutely right though. I think in terms of the need, for more receiving talent, because listen, obviously, like we've said, the Ravens know how to draft these guys. Bateman's been looking pretty great, but looking pretty good for them. But like you said, huge workload for a guy that's basically kind of a number one option, like his like second year in the league, and even like let alone like second full season, and he's not fully healthy. And like I think as we've always seen, there is clearly a limit to the QB tight end connection that isn't like Mahomes and Travis Kelce, because Mark Andrews is great, but he's not like an X receiver like Kelce is. He's not the same guy as Kelce is necessarily.
And even there's a limit to that too. I mean,
Absolutely.
we saw that
it can be
you need someone
game
to stretch the
plan for.
field.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Tyreek Hill, yes, you can put two safeties deep. But if he burns those guys,
there's no one there.
There's no one there.
Right.
So that's now he's being used differently in Miami. But at that point, that's why that was the most dangerous offense we'd ever seen in the history of the league.
But also, the reason I brought up knowing how to draft them is because like it was awesome to see Isaiah Likely get that touchdown, and it was awesome to see like it was a great throw, great route by that guy. But like you said, a lot to put on these guys who were essentially de facto unproven. And G Burns in the YouTube chat suggested McCole Hardman to Baltimore would be okay. I actually think that would be a pretty good. But
he had a productive last game, so I don't know if they're going to do that.
No, I don't think they would want to deal him necessarily. But I see what he's saying. In the
they could have taken Kadarius Toney,
right?
But
maybe in the sense of somebody who would add the speed element that they don't have, but then also could even be put in run packages. Because like Hardman, I think either the 2 weeks ago had a rushing touchdown or two, so they were using him in great ways because he's so fast.
Yeah, sweep him. I mean, they seem to think that McCole Hardman could play a similar role to Tyreek Hill, but he's not. It doesn't seem like he is as good at tracking the ball down.
No, I think route running, like that type, is like the specificity of certain things that I think like that Reed can essentially process like while he's running 100 miles an hour. Like that's like hard to replicate.
Yeah.
But I think for some of those more kind of like creative run pass packages, I could see that. But like you said, he's been productive, so hard to think he'd be on the market.
Right. Let's now talk a bit about the Eagles. No. Before we get to them, let's talk about the 49ers, because Christian McCaffrey, it's not his debut because he he was on the field somewhat for that Chiefs game.
But this was his coming out party for the
Woo,
Niners.
baby!
There's not that many guys, not that many guys in the league who can rush for a touchdown, catch a touchdown, and throw a touchdown.
And yeah, I mean that Ayuk play where he threw a touchdown to him,
and it was a nice ball. It was a nice ball.
Throws a prettier ball than Trey Lance.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
They should stagger them. They should do a quarterback by committee, Jimmy and McCaffrey, just every two downs.
That one pass looks like more catchable than some of the hospital balls that Jimmy throws over the middle. But again, it's really easy when the guy's wide open. You just have to like throw downfield, right? I'm joking.
Yeah, they schemed. I mean, Ayuk. He was wide open.
I love Ayuk.
He's one of those guys, especially in the hands of a guy like Shanahan, who can just break games open because they scheme him open, and then he's so fast and shifty that he's just like, and he's great hands.
He's like a less stout Debo. I mean,
totally.
It's kind of what
two similar like Swiss Army knives. Sort
they're
of.
doing this in Miami with two very similar guys of Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And I feel like it's a little bit of a lesser version because I don't think Ayuk is like as good as Waddle, but it's a similar kind of thing where you don't know where it's coming from. And Deebo Samuel wasn't playing this game, so
to have that versatility out there was super needed.
So now it's Deebo, Ayuk, McCaffrey.
Right.
Man, that is a three-headed monster.
It's hard to scheme for defensively. Like, what do you who covers who and how? Like,
if McCaffrey stays healthy, I really hope he does.
I know,
because
seriously.
I want to see what this looks like in the playoffs. But the NFC is very weak. The Seahawks, great story this year. I still think they make the playoffs, but it's beatable in terms of the division.
100%.
They could. It seems like it's going to be either one of those, which is crazy to say. It might be the Seahawks or the 49ers. The Rams might be out of it at this point.
I am not based on what we've seen so far, like this half of the season, I'm not particularly confident the Rams are going to bounce back.
Yeah.
I don't. They just look like a shell of what they were last year, and that hasn't. And we've said this before, but it's not changing.
Yeah.
There's no dynamism. They've seemed flat since week one. Basically.
Well, it's just Stafford's poor elbow, and then the line is terrible. And I forgot to even mention Kittle. Like Kittle.
Yeah, to say nothing of like the best blocking tight end in the league, who also can catch passes.
Seems to be getting healthy.
Yeah.
He caught a touchdown pass, right?
Totally.
And he and Jimmy Garoppolo are in love with each other, so they're like they have that special connection. Yeah. And so, look, I don't agree with maybe some of the over-aggressiveness that I've seen from the 49ers front office. I've been on record that I thought the Trey Lance pick was a really big mistake and has set their team back. But at the same time, it's like when you have the most talented roster outside of the quarterback position, besides maybe the Eagles, the Bills are incredibly talented, but I think they would not, like if Josh Allen was out for the season with an ACL, God forbid, no. But like at the start of the year, do you think that they would be Super Bowl contenders? Like I almost you almost can put anybody in at the quarterback position on the 49ers, and they're going to be in the conversation for one of the best teams in the NFC. I think they're just going to be on the ascent right now.
And even with injuries to the defense, just the way those guys are coached, I've been saying it every week, just the way these guys are coached, the way that they play, it's pretty easy to maintain that level because all of them are ready to go. All of them are ready to fly around the formation, to hit hard, and to be a pain in the ass of whoever they're playing for 4 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
So that mindset, that determination, and the skill level that comes with being in a DeMeco Ryans defense, combined with this level of skill position talent, like you said, it could be really anybody as long as if Jimmy can avoid boneheaded like safeties in the end zone, for example, or boneheaded like interceptions and keep his game above water. That is, and if health is not a huge concern on the offense, in an NFC that, like you said, is completely wide open, given the real parity in talent across the divisions, this could be the best team in the NFC at the end of the year, and I wouldn't blink. Like, I wouldn't bat an eyelash.
I mean, for me, in terms of pure talent on the roster, it's the Eagles and it's the 49ers,
totally,
and it's not close.
100%.
In the NFC, it's not close. I mean, the Cowboys are very talented, but other than those are the 3 that you're having that conversation about.
And like you said, like I know I definitely see where we were. I definitely like still am where I was when we were talking about how this is certainly one more instance where the 49ers kind of mortgage their future for the short term. But given where they are, given if this is actually kind of a portent for an ascent that they will have going into the second half of the season, and given kind of if this can just be, if, like I said, Jimmy can remain stable, the skill position players can do what they do best, and the defense remains one of the most formidable units in the league, we might be looking back and thinking, okay, they pushed their chips all the way into the middle of the table for a reason.
That's the thing, is I won't feel that way because I don't think they can win the Super Bowl with this.
That's the thing, though, but also the definition of pushing their chips into the middle of the table is getting to the Super Bowl enough? Is the NFC Championship game good enough? Is like the semi?
I could totally see.
Yeah.
I think they'll be in. Bold prediction. I think they'll be in the NFC Championship game, and I think they'll lose because it gets to a point in the year.
And we've seen that before. We've seen that movie
just
before.
Saw it.
Yeah, we've seen that movie before.
Because it's Jimmy. That's the thing. And I just wish that they were smarter about that trade, because then we could be talking dynasty here for the 49ers. But
yeah. Well, some people in the YouTube chat are saying we're sleeping on the Vikings, but
I'm not. No, they're the number 1 pretender for me.
I just am not. I'm just not. It's a similar thing where it's like
more than the Giants. I really feel that strong about the Vikings. I mean,
I just think less. Like don't get me wrong. I think Zadarius Smith is great. I think Danielle Hunter is great. I don't think they're great. I think they're fine. I think they've had a few pretty good games the last few weeks. I think they're a solid pass rush. I think Patrick Peterson has honestly been playing pretty well given his age and given how many years he's played. You know, Thielen, Jefferson, KJ Osborne showing flashes. I think there are good players on this team. it's a similar thing for me though. Is I don't and will not trust Kirk Cousins in any game that requires actual either clutch performance or primetime performance until he gives me a reason to do so.
Yeah, I mean, and that narrative has basically become a meme about him not performing in primetime.
But at some point, it's a data point.
At some point, it's real.
At some point, it becomes data.
At some point, it's real.
If you simply cannot win a game when the lights are on, why is that?
I don't know. I mean,
you have to prove to fans and prove to people that you can actually do that. And the way you prove to people by doing that is you do it. He hasn't done it.
The thing about him is that I feel like he gets constantly overrated by the statistical performance that isn't in prime time. And because if you're an NFL coach, you like Kirk Cousins because he can read the defense. He does exactly what the coaches tell him. And that goes from like a low level of a bad offensive system. He'll do what the coaches tell him to do. In a good offensive system, like what Kevin O'Connell is introducing, he'll do what the offense tells you to.
But what happens when a free rusher gets home? Can't he do literally anything?
I mean, he rushed for a touchdown this last game, which was shocking. But that's like one.
But that's like an anomaly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like it's what I think. I think Robert Mays said this on the Athletic Football Show a few weeks ago. Is that like he can do everything right, like we've been saying, when everything is sound. Mm-hmm. Protection is sound. He has an hour to get the ball out. He can make his reads and he can get the right pass out. If any of that structure breaks down, he can't accommodate that.
Right.
He can't experiment. He can't freestyle. And that's really you can't account or you can't.
And you need that in a modern NFL.
Exactly.
You need. I mean,
especially in the postseason, you can't expect no variables.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to scramble or to be able to make plays off schedule is a necessity in the NFL now, and it's changed.
Given how the defenses are, and given how modern the best quarterbacks are.
Right. So, I mean, that's why I don't believe in the Vikings, even though I want to. Like, another team that I
love Justin Jefferson. Love that guy.
And, you know, our dear friend Matt Leck.
Like, he's a
Minnesota fan. Like, I would love for the even though I know he cares more about the Timberwolves than any of the other teams, but, you know, I would love for Minnesota to have some success.
100%.
And I love Justin Jefferson, but I don't really think that I think they'll be one and done if they make the playoffs.
And I honestly,
it seems like they're going to win the division.
No,
so.
Totally. I definitely think they're going to be there. It's more just I wonder what success they'll have when they get there.
You know what I'm thinking is going to happen? All right, just clip this and we'll return to it if
you
this
hear that,
happens.
Zeke?
Okay. The Vikings are going to win the division. They'll be the 3rd seed or the 4th seed. The Packers are going to get hot after this win against Detroit. They'll meet in the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers will beat them in Minnesota. Book it.
Oh, you know what? Like, I'm right there with you.
I think that's gonna happen.
I would take that to the bank today.
I really feel like that's gonna happen. And like the receivers will get more used to Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, Dobbs had an amazing catch in the end zone against the Bills yesterday. I know they lost the game, but I was like, okay, maybe he's learning a little bit. He's
the Packers aren't going anywhere, but they will go to the
second round.
Playoffs.
They'll go to the second round after beating the Vikings.
After defeating the Vikings. And Aaron Rodgers will break Vikings fans' hearts once again. I'm sorry, guys, but that's my prediction right now, based on really nothing except just my experience watching football.
Just pure cosmic intuition.
Right. Exactly. All right, let's touch on the Eagles really quickly. Eagles still undefeated. Their roster is unbelievable.
And they've only simply gotten better since the Robert Quinn deal.
And I'm sorry, Titans, you guys are idiots. What the hell did you do trading away A.J. Brown? He looks like unstoppable. I saw he tweeted that he got randomly drug tested this morning.
He said that's not random.
Yeah, no way. I mean, he looks like a god amongst men.
He is one of those guys where I think sometimes it's almost like people can look for contemporaries or like body types or skill sets in the draft to be like, oh, like we could find the next AJ Brown, so to speak. But it's hard because there's not anybody like AJ Brown.
I mean, but guys, come on. Did you watch Treylon Burks in college, and then did you watch AJ?
Like that's not the same guy.
No,
like,
it's not.
Yeah, they are not the same guy.
And
like,
him and DK Metcalf coming out, they were freaks. And
absolutely.
The Ole Miss. This is again what bothers me about draft analysis. I mean, they did not maybe have the statistics, and that's why they fell to the second round. But that's because the Ole Miss offense was terrible.
Right. This is pre-Lane Kiffin, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Or maybe like early Lane Kiffin. It was either
I think it was
end of Hugh Freeze's era or early Lane Kiffin. So it was just it was not the team that they are even now.
Yeah,
honestly.
and then when you get that guy, you pay that guy.
Right.
Once you get that guy, do it.
This
go
is a guy.
all in.
This is a guy who is not only like you could see this guy and think, oh, he could be just a slot or just a deep threat or whatever, in the sense of like you could pigeonhole AJ Brown.
Yeah.
But the difficult thing is he can't be pigeonholed because he does everything well. He can
11 passes for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. And also, not all of those 3 touchdowns were exactly the same. He can get deep balls down the side.
Bradley knows because he has him on his fantasy
team. Oh, I sure do. I had to the tune of 32 points for
I
me.
have Devonta Smith.
I have both.
Yeah, right. Well, look at that.
I know, but he kind of had it. I mean,
pitching your ride to that offense is the right... this is a fantasy
That was my
tip.
thinking. I was just thinking, like...
Always pick good offenses, not just players.
Right. To think that the scheme would actually help them. And also, I mean, it's helped me too that Hurts has made a jump. That he's actually been a very reliable quarterback for these guys. But Brown can just. You can line Brown up anywhere on the formation. You can get him anywhere, scheme him anywhere. If he's doing a big slant route, into the end zone, he can catch that ball. In the flat, he can catch that ball and get yards after the catch. Like he can go over the middle. Like he can go on the sideline. He can go between the numbers on the outside hashes. Like he can go anywhere and make basically any play.
Yeah,
he's a cheat code. Like it's especially at the height of his powers. He is I would say nearly as good as Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, the guys like that who are also similarly in that vein, unguardable for their own reasons, like difficult to match up because they just do the things that they do within their body, within their skill set better than anybody else.
Yeah, and I mean he really is that special, and I'm a Giants fan, but I can't help but root for AJ Brown.
Oh me,
He's got like megawatt smile,
totally.
Seemingly just such a good guy, and same with Jalen Hurts. They're both so likable. It's annoying. And Jalen Hurts continues to progress. I mean, talk about people talk about how and we just did talk about how coachable Kirk Cousins is. Maybe the most coachable quarterback in the NFL in terms of somebody who adapts to coaching and has elevated their game. Kirk Cousins is coachable in that the coach will tell him what to do and he'll do it. But has his game continued to progress as his career has gone on? I would not argue that that's true. Jalen Hurts gets better every week. And it seems like his technique and his throwing gets better every week.
Which is unbelievable to me because it's
you don't see that much.
Because like we've said before, I mean, the way we've seen progress, interestingly enough, in this league has been almost like meteoric. Mm-hmm. It's like Mahomes struggled his first season, and now he's the best quarterback in the league.
Well, he didn't even play.
He didn't even play his first season.
He played one game, and then they traded, and he looked good, and then they traded out.
Right.
More like Josh Allen.
Yeah, and then Allen, even though Allen his first season struggled, he got a little better the second year, but then after that, it's like, oh, this is simply the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
There was not anybody like this guy. Whereas Hurts, it's like. He struggled, obviously. Rookies struggle, but he's only just gotten better every year he's played. It's been incremental progress, and I think that's I think you're absolutely right. That speaks to somebody who is open to coaching, open to growth.
Well, his dad's a
open
football
to
coach. Like you can just tell that and he's a leader. Everything about Jalen Hurts is he's amazing.
It's unfortunate because I've been thinking to myself, and I've talked to some of my friends. I have a few friends who are Eagles fans, and I'm like, how did these guys make me like the Eagles? Well, I am so disinclined to like the Eagles and this team. It's just like I love Devonta Smith, I love AJ Brown, I love Jason Kelsey, I love Jalen Hurts, like I love Darius Slay, like I love James Bradbury on the Giants. Like I'm happy to see him doing well. Like I just there are so many guys on this team where I'm just like, this is just a well-oiled machine, and they're basically like like we were saying, 49ers aside, honestly, like they're the daunting team in the NFC.
Oh yeah,
they're the team.
by far.
They're really the one team that I would be nervous to play in the NFC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah. What else is there to say? Now I'm getting depressed thinking about how good the Eagles are and how good they will be for a long time. It's
sorry.
Oh, and guess what? They also have a pick, 2 picks in the first round. Now let's check on that pick really quickly, because unfortunately the Saints made the decision to trade for a second first-round pick last year and not take a quarterback, which was
and they took Trevor Penning,
dumbfounding.
They took Trevor Penning in the first round, who is out for the season.
So
I don't know.
Currently, the Eagles have the 9th overall pick, and they are undefeated.
I don't know.
God damn it, Howie Roseman, and God damn it, New
He's
Orleans.
a wizard.
What? I
don't know what.
I was
the
like,
hell
they're gonna go for Kenny Pickett. Nope.
I don't know.
By the way,
I don't know what
speaking
they're
of-
doing. The Saints. I have like.
I mean, they had a great win against the Raiders, but what is the plan?
What's the plan? That's the thing. Is like long term. I have no idea what they're supposed to be doing with their team. Like long term, I have no idea.
So I mean, that trade was bizarre to me, but either way, yeah, the Eagles are really good. That was a really weird move. They thought that they could compete this year, I think.
That's the thing is, I think the Saints basically thought. I think the Saints with Jameis thought they were like only a few pieces away. Now that Jameis is not completely healthy, they're many pieces away.
Well, the offense is not the problem for the Saints. It is the defense, which is shocking.
Which is usually not the case.
But at the same, and it's also because Dennis Allen's the head coach, and so you would
not
think
Sean
that,
Payton,
right?
exactly.
And you would think that the defense would be playing better, and this is weird to say because they just won in very
against another
aggressive
team,
fashion.
so.
Yeah, another team that's completely in limbo.
What is going on with both of those teams, the Saints and the Raiders?
At least you know what the
idea.
Lions, the Texans, the Panthers are doing. But I mean, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
There's not really
at
pressure on them to be
overall
good.
pick. Guys, Kenny Pickett's not the answer. I'm already saying it now. He doesn't do anything elite.
No, I think.
And Matt Canada sucks, but I just do not.
They also kind of fed him to the wolves with where they brought him out. In the second half of the Jets game into the hardest part of their season.
Yeah.
Like
then they were like, start against the Bills.
Yeah, start against hey, you had one half against the Jets. Start against the Bills now.
Yeah.
How do you start against Von Miller? Welcome to the league, Kenny.
I feel for him. But I just don't. I don't necessarily feel like he is the answer.
It's one of those things, though, that for me, if I'm the Saints or if I'm the Steelers, and based on where we are now, I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm wondering, do I trade Alvin Kamara?
Well, the trade deadline is in a day.
Right. Like, do I try?
So we'll see.
That's right. I mean,
we should talk a bit more about that before we get to calls.
I guess technically there's still a decent amount of time because a day is a long time, obviously, in like trade terms.
It really snuck up on me. Here.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when the trade started going, I was like, oh, right, this is happening. But I'm wondering if I'm the Saints seeing what's going on and also seeing that this top 10 pick is not ours. Like, do we trade Alvin Kamara and see what value we get? Even though it seems like they're being very picky about the offer, which, I mean, if I'm them, I just get picks. Do we trade Michael Thomas? Do we...
No one wants Michael Thomas.
Well, that's the thing, though, and that's I think the tough spot they're in is that I think Kamara is probably their most coveted asset, but it seems like they're being pretty. They're keeping a tight lid on what they'll actually accept in terms of an offer. And I'm thinking the same thing with who were we just talking about? That wasn't the Saints. Not
Brandon Cooks.
Not Brandon Cooks. Oh my God.
I mean, Judy's on the trade deadline. Judy, on trade block. Bradley Chubb is on the trade block. Josh Allen of the Jaguars.
Whoa!
Not
Breaking
the other
news.
one. Brian Burns, Kareem Hunt, Cam Akers, Chase Claypool, who I really feel like the Packers should definitely.
Oh, sorry.
trade
Yes,
for.
you reminded me. I'm so sorry. The Steelers.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking the same thing in the sense of, like you said, I don't know if I'm thinking, oh, yes, Kenny Pickett is our long-term option at quarterback. Obviously, we still have
I
the rest of
wouldn't
the
have
season.
taken him.
No, I agree. I don't think any quarterback in this past year's draft was worth a first round pick.
It seems like they really forced it, and it seems like he's a great guy.
And
Hard worker.
Went to Pitt. Like,
went to Pitt. I totally understand
I get
why.
the appeal.
But you don't take a quarterback in the first round when they don't have any elite traits, and he doesn't have any elite traits.
I also think he would have been available later. I don't think he would have made. I think he would have very much made it out of the first round.
If you feel like it's the guy, you don't wait. I understand that. I mean, we had this. There was the same conversation with Daniel Jones, and
right.
But
my thing.
The issue was they took. Dexter Lawrence looks good, but it's just the position value
exactly.
was
Yes,
bad.
totally.
Yeah,
the thing with the Steelers though is my question is if there's uncertainty there. If Matt Canada, which I think is very clearly Matt Canada is not the answer for this offense. But you have these good skill position players. Do you try to get value out of them? And so do you trade Chase Claypool? Do you trade Deontay Johnson? Do you look for homes for these guys to potentially get more flexibility and value next year? Or do you stand pat and think, okay, maybe with a few more pieces, some more retooling, we can get a better infrastructure for Kenny Pickett? I don't think that's the way to go, though.
Well, you make a really good point, because if they had more of an understanding of where their roster was at,
yes, absolutely,
they would not have taken Kenny Pickett, and they would have maybe just started to begin like, okay, we rebuild now.
Let's build in the trenches. We don't really have an offensive line.
Yeah,
our offensive line is bad.
Their offensive line is bottom third in the NFL for sure, if not worse than that. But I would not trade Deontay Johnson if I were them, given the bed they've made for themselves, because he and Pickett seem to have a connection, but Claypool is totally odd man out.
Yeah.
And
I think he could be great somewhere else.
Yeah,
imagine him on the Ravens. Imagine him on the Chiefs. Imagine him on the Bills. Imagine him on the Chargers.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God. They're on bye, so we didn't get to rant about their receiver room.
My second week in a row, just begging them to trade for a receiver.
But one of those teams definitely should trade for Claypool, and I hope that he ends up on another team, because he's a very low cap hit, later round pick.
And I think the tools are just there. He's a good player. I just think he's kind of in the doldrums in Pittsburgh.
But yeah, and we're about to enter into Mike Tomlin's first losing season as a Steelers head coach,
which is kind of like it's a bit of a watershed moment. It's like, oh, so this is the one. This is it. Yeah, I mean, they should have either decided to rebuild their roster or not taken Kenny Pickett. Yep.
And not taking Kenny Pickett, or go all in and try to make it work. But they clearly misevaluated where their roster was.
And with TJ Watt out for the season too, or out from the majority of the season, it's just
he should be coming back next week. But
okay, so he's back a little earlier than I expected. But even just thinking the defense, which is definitely now the calling card for this team, is not even fully healthy.
Najee Harris looks awful.
He's just not.
He looks slow.
And also just not able to. I know the line is bad, but he's not even able to he's not even looking like he can make separation both on design runs or on screen passes. It's just he's like the versatility that he was supposedly designed to give the Steelers it's not happening.
Yeah. I feel bad for some of the Steelers players because of the significant drop off they're experiencing.
No, 100%.
And the fact that when you go there, you expect to be winning. But this is kind of a time for that front office to reevaluate and say,
like, what exactly? What is the plan? What's the long-term future? Where do we see ourselves, not next season, but 3 seasons from now?
And I feel like there has been an absence of long-term planning in that organization, despite their general competence.
Oh, 100%.
But this is about winning a Super Bowl. And they understand that. They've won as many Super Bowls as anybody. But this is about winning the Super Bowl in the modern era of the NFL. And that means a quarterback that's top 10. And that means a
good line.
A good offensive line.
It's a great point, because we were obviously this whole time, of course, Tomlin's never had a losing season, but it's also like, why exactly was there not a larger plan for when Ben left?
Yeah.
Why was there seemingly not a prominent line of succession for when Ben left, besides, hey,
that's
we have
because
Mason Rudolph and then we draft Kenny Pickett?
Well, more even than Ben leaving was that Kevin Colbert, their GM, stepped down.
Right. And he
right
was
after the draft.
and he had righted the ship the whole for
the whole
14
time.
years, probably. I think something like that.
Yeah,
something crazy. He'd been there forever.
He'd been there forever. He was like Steelers personified, and he left. And so they were not just in a rebuilding mode with Ben Roethlisberger leaving, but also with a changing of the guard, a general manager, which means
so the most like almost like obviously turbulence in terms of like structure and chain of command that we've had in 20 years.
So Khan, who's now the general manager, I think needs to kind of start to sell assets. So I hope they trade Claypool for that reason. Plus, I think Claypool would be a better fit on another roster.
But to that point too, just really quickly, we're seeing that exact thing you're saying in the sense of to compete for a Super Bowl, having a top 10 quarterback and a good line. Look at where the Rams are. Mm-hmm. Austin Corbett's on the Panthers. David Andrews is on the Patriots. The line is not the same as it was, and they're not a good team. With retires, they're not the line isn't the same. Stafford's a little more banged up than he was last year. He's only getting older, and they're not the same team anymore. And they're not a Super Bowl contender, and that's essentially an understatement. They're bad.
And one final point about the Steelers, it is a bit shocking that they were not more prepared for this, given how badly Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh my God, yeah! It's not as if he was even playing well before he retired. He couldn't move.
Yeah. All right, guys. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be taking your calls. In that break, I will call into the phone lines, and you can ask me some questions or debate me. Debate me, bro. 646-257-3920. Taking a quick break. Be right back. We are back. You can call into the phone lines 646-257-3920. I'll read some IMs before we pick up some calls. Cap, no fun. Am I missing something? The Eagles are still undefeated, and I feel like nobody is talking about them. Well, we just did. Boomer Socialist. The Ravens are getting linebackers Bowsers and rookie Ojabo back. Right, good point.
I'm looking forward to seeing what David Ojabo has. I thought he was low stats, kind of like Owe coming out of college, similar thing. Not as many sacks in terms of like statistics, but he was so like explosive.
And he had that horrible injury during his workout.
Yes, exactly.
So I liked Ojabo too. Emma Mama says that's an amazing point. The draft analysts are just promoting colleges at this point, unless the player skill set is so glaringly obvious. I totally agree. All right, calling from a 757 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Emma, you Lydia from Beetlejuice. Oh my gosh, it's Amir from Northern Virginia, now in Richmond.
Hi, Amir.
It's so good to talk to you again.
Have we met?
I once called. We've conversed. I once called into the Majority Report. I talked about my dog that sadly passed away from cancer, and then I roasted you guys.
Oh, okay.
I remember that,
it-
Amir,
it
by the
was-
way. Also, are you in the YouTube chat? 'Cause I
Hey,
think,
Bradley, what's up, my man?
because I think you
What's up,
continue to
babe?
roast me in the YouTube chat, by the way.
What are you roasting him about?
Oh no, everybody was begging me to roast Bradley, and
So you were appealing to the masses.
No. First and foremost, I called up to roast everyone else,
Okay.
and I said specifically that you were not on my radar.
Oh, so it's almost even
the
worse.
Chat prevailed. Yeah, no. And then I zung you good, and that was the only time in the entire. If you go back, you guys clipped it.
All right,
If
so
you go back and watch it.
Amir,
If
who
you
are
go
you?
back and watch it, that's the only time that Sam laughed.
Who are you here to roast us about now?
I'm not here to
Roast
roast
about-
anybody.
It comes in peace.
I'm a Commanders fan. I'm a fan of y'all. I'm a fan of the show. Congratulations. This is, wonderful, Emma. I'm rooting for you. All right. I'm not here to. I put away my knife. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what I want to talk about is just like how many fans around here. We hate Dan Snyder. Everybody hates Dan Snyder. All right. But then their other options are like, let's bring in Jeff Bezos. Let's bring in, just all these other douchebag billionaires. And you're like, dude,
Yeah.
that is not you think that union crushing guy is going to be like good for like the NFLPA or like any other like, and hey, great show today on the Majority Report with Christian Smalls.
Thank you.
So, I got nothing bad to say today. I may call in if the Commanders are winning, but good God, your Giants. I can't. You think they're going to sign Daniel Jones again? 'Cause
No.
he's making a case.
Look, he is making a case. I think they will either franchise tag him or do something where it's like a 2-year prove it deal. And they might franchise tag Saquon because they both go to market next year. And
Right.
Saquon's franchise tag is going to be a lot lower. Some quarterback franchise tags over $30 million.
I'd let Saquon go. But I agree with you on like how they're going to kind of work out this Daniel Jones deal.
Yeah, it'll be a short-term thing, and then they'll find someone that this regime drafts. But either way, I'll root for him wherever he goes, given the heart and soul that he's given to this team. And I think people still don't really understand how little he has to work with on the receiving side and how he has kind of elevated his game. So.
Absolutely. Hey, well, Curtis Samuel's a free agent next year.
Oh yeah, right.
Speaking of heart and soul, how about Terry McLaurin?
Love
I get a
Terry.
shout-out?
Yeah.
What a catch! A catch!
I'm mad about
Hey,
it.
man.
I thought I had
Hey.
Bradley.
Amir, you helped me. Your Commanders helped me out this week.
Bradley went 3-0 again this week.
Bro, I won
6-0 in 2 weeks.
I won $300.
Let's go,
Because of
Amir.
that.
We're all in the money
You know
this
what I'm
week.
saying? Yeah, we're winning some money. All right, look, I'm dressed in my Prince costume. I gotta take my toddler trick or treating. So I'm gonna let
Happy
you-
Halloween!
Have fun and good choice of costume. All right, thanks, Amir.
Oh no, I've had this costume for like 15 years.
Oh, so it preceded your
It's
toddler as
wonderful.
well.
It preceded it. My goodness.
Don't say it.
It preceded it. I may have a toddler out there because of this.
Oh, there we go.
That's what I meant to say. That's what I was
I mean,
saying. Don't
geez.
say it.
All right, later, Amir.
Well, no, that's what they call me. That's what they call me. Not America. Fuck yeah.
Ah,
All right.
America.
Have fun, dude.
All right.
Call in again.
All right, man.
Later.
All right.
Bye.
Love you guys. Love the best. Bye.
Love you too. All right. Calling from a 630 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, is this me?
This is you.
Oh, awesome. This is Adam. I'm calling from the Chicago suburbs. I want to
What's
talk
your name,
about
sorry?
my
What's
Bears
your
a little.
name? Yeah, what's your name?
My name is Adam.
Adam. From Chicago
Adam.
suburbs.
80 a.m. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to talk about my Bears. I don't know what's wrong. What's up with them? I mean, you see the team against New England is not the team that just folded against the Cowboys yesterday. And I just don't know what to make of the defense. And I think Justin Fields is improving, but I don't know. What is your take on the Bears?
Yeah, I mean, we have so many Bears fans that listen to the show. So
oh, really? Huh.
yeah, it's I'm surprised, but it is. You guys, I feel for you because you're a classic franchise that still like has not been able to figure things out, and there's that weird.
We've been hanging on to 1985 for since then, basically. That one, yeah.
Yeah, and the Bears do that fell into that trap really, and I think Ryan Poles is good, but before that they were using I think they tried to consult Bill Polian on who they should hire next, and George McCaskey, another just very outdated old school guy in that.
Well, the team president the team president Ted Phillips is an accountant, for God's sake, and he's the guy that's making all the football decisions, which is ridiculous.
But the good news for the Bears is that Poles is actually a football guy, played offensive line, knows what football operations entail, and seems to be doing a good job of getting value out of that roster. I don't know what to make of them either. I had thought that their defense was really well coached until just the Cowboys completely broke their backs.
Until yesterday, right?
Which was shocking. So I know. I think that they're a young and up and down team, but my frustration still remains on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know if they're going to commit to Justin Fields or if this is just like some sort of smoke and mirrors for them to draft someone next year and build around them. But I do think that, when you're drafting a quarterback in the first round, you look for at least one elite trait. And Justin Fields has elite athleticism. And I also think he has a very good arm. They need to make things a little easier on him.
They need some receiver. They've got Darnell Mooney is pretty good, but I think he's like number 3 on most teams, not the number 1. And they need some offensive linemen. He's running for his life. It seems like all the time. He's been sacked. I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
More than
and what's
else.
going on with Tevin Jenkins, that offensive lineman that they took? Is he still out of favor up there?
It seems like it. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with him. Yeah, it seems like I don't know what the deal is. They need to bring some people in though. They definitely need to draft an offensive lineman.
I'm encouraged. I think Lucas Patrick was a good signing for them. I think he's a good player. I think that I actually, as much as I would have probably preferred that with their draft picks this past draft, they would have gone for a lineman or for a wide receiver earlier than they did when they went for Velus Jones, who by all accounts
they didn't have a first round pick,
right? But which by all accounts on certain draft boards, Velus Jones was kind of more of a gadget guy. He probably could have been found in some later rounds. However,
he muffed 2 punts already this year.
Yeah, so there you go. But what I will say though, with those picks though, I still am encouraged by Jahan Brisker and Kyler Gordon's play. So I really do think those guys will be good players for a long time. I just think Fields needs some more reinforcements in the trenches and on the outside, just so he's not either he's not running around with guys in his backfield every snap, or he's able to get somebody open, so he's not just checking it down or having to because I really think, as we've been saying, he's growing.
Yeah.
He's improving.
Yeah, I guess that's the only good thing. They are stuck, trading away Robert Quinn and now Roquan. They are stockpiling draft picks for next year. So it just depends on how wisely they use them, I guess.
That's how you do it. All right, appreciate it, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. Take care.
You too. All right, calling from a 425 area code. Who's this? Where you calling from?
Hello, is this me?
This is you. Who's you?
Oh, awesome. This is Jeff from Seattle.
Jeff from Seattle. Hey, how are you? You here to shit talk me?
I just wanted to call in just a little bit in the dunk on Russ. But
oh, yeah. Well, we can find common cause there. And honestly, we can put down our arms now that the game is over. And I like the Seahawks. That's what I've been saying. They're a fun team. Fun team this year for
Let's
sure.
ride, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit mad that T-Law got that interception. I was really, really looking forward to that top 5 pick from the Broncos. But looks like it might not be.
It'll be top 10. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, it was great though. The game was pretty fun. Giants had a good blitz scheme. They really get a lot out of a little, but I mean, we got it in the end.
It
But,
seemed, honestly,
also-
from the jump, I had a bad feeling about the game, and you could tell that Carroll was all over the Giants' offensive tendencies, which hasn't really been the case this year.
Yeah, one of the things about it was, especially after Russ is gone, it's actually like we have an interesting offense now. Like they can adapt and change now that he doesn't have to wheel out of the pocket and play hero ball every play. Like it's just like, thank God.
I know. So, I mean, what is your feeling about how the Seahawks fared in this trade? Are you, I mean, I can't imagine you're anything but elated.
Oh, super elated. Yeah, I feel like it was, it's probably the best heist of, I don't know, maybe the past decade so far, or it's looking that way.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, the Jets did kind of get us with the Jamal Adams trade.
That's what I was about to say. The only one I can think of that rivals it
There's
was
so much Jets on Seahawks violence and Seahawks on Jets violence with the Jamal Adams and the Geno Smith acquisitions.
Yes, trading
They
blows.
stab both ways.
Yeah, it's a bummer because, like, he's a good player. I mean, he's not, like, much of a ball hawk, but he's a solid tackler, which, like, early in the season, the tackling was just atrocious. Like, I can't.
He's
I
a
can't
good
watch
player,
him
but
play anymore.
And they took him. They wanted him because he's the perfect fit for, you know, the old Seattle scheme on defense where they rely heavily on safety play. But you just and they have to understand that now that was a mistake. Trading 2 firsts for a safety to then re-sign to a hefty contract is not good team building. But they seem to have learned from their mistake,
for sure.
and you know now they're gonna have these assets from Russell Wilson.
Oh yeah, he can. Just the entire thing has just been glorious watching in Denver. I've just been laughing every way. I've watched every single game.
Well, they've all been on primetime for the most part, so there's that.
Yeah, can they stop doing that?
I know.
I'm so sick of it.
It's like they want us to watch
I think-
Russell Wilson engulf in flames.
I think they have one more too.
I'm sure
They have
3
multiple.
more.
They have multiple. And I mean, it is
Oh, God.
baffling. They need some more flexibility to flex these out. But anyway, appreciate the call, and you know, I hope to see you in the playoffs.
Thanks. Take it easy.
You too.
Let's ride. Let's ride.
Let's ride. Go Hawks. More like. Calling from a 909 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Oh my gosh, Emma, is this me?
This is you.
Hi, Emma. My name's Bennie. I'm calling from Ontario, California, not up in Canada, but
Wow.
and
I've never heard of
it's-
Ontario,
it-
California.
You're near LA. You're
you know
near
that
LA or
huge-
Southern California, right, Benny?
Yeah. And you know that, no joke, the biggest Amazon warehouse is being built in my city because we have an airport. So it's a huge thing. I hope that they unionize quick.
Yeah.
But it's kind of serendipitous because I wanted to talk about my experience as a Seattle Seahawks fan and why I feel that Pete Carroll deserves Coach of the Year. He definitely deserves it, actually. Now,
He should be up there for sure.
Well, see, my experience as a Seahawks fan, and I've been following the Hawks for about 5-6 years now, ever since I seriously started following football. And funny thing, Bobby Wagner graduated out of Colony High School here in Ontario, so that's why I started following the Seahawks. It was because of him. He was a great player.
That's cool.
And
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. That was a heartbreaker when they cut him. But in any case, the experience was always super frustrating, like, Russ playing hero ball, really cardiac, like last second either wins or losses, and of course we get bounced in the wild card or the division round. And this narrative started And I'm going to own up to it as a diehard Seahawks fan. This narrative started that Pete Carroll was doing to Russ what Mike McCarthy was doing to Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where
I bought into it too.
That's where the whole let Russ cook thing started. It was initially from us, the fans on Twitter, and Russ took it even further, and he was acting really passive aggressive against the coaches and his own offensive line. So when he was traded to Denver, I was amongst the first to demand that Pete Carroll be fired, basically, because it's like you don't do that to a franchise QB. But I think in hindsight, Russ was holding us back. His insistence on playing the offense his way and not the way we've been through 3 offensive coordinators. So that should tell you that Russ wants to play the offense his way, basically, not the way that the team plans it out, basically. And Geno, to his credit, what I love about him is that he's willing to coordinate, basically. That's a huge... I mean,
and also go through his reads at this point. Like, what was so... And sorry to cut you off, but I think where maybe me from the outside and you as a fan of the team, maybe where we misevaluated what was happening was the offense looked really static and simple, and it was like, okay, this must be coming from Pete Carroll because he's a defensive guy and he wants to run the ball first, and so he's going to do these really simple pass looks. But from what we're seeing now,
it was actually Russ.
It was to make sure to limit Russell Wilson's worst instincts or work around his inability to get off the first read at this point in his career now that he doesn't have the mobility that he did, because he looks heftier and he doesn't seem to be able to run in the same way too.
As a longtime fan of this team, watching a lot of what Russ did, his big thing was, I got to play hero ball. I got to hold the ball and make the big time play, and he would end up getting sacked or hurried and not handing off the ball. So I see now that, Geno is willing to be coached and willing to, take what's out there and not just, play for the big play, make the big play. And I think that what we need to give credit to Pete is that he trusted Geno, basically. And not only that, but Pete has this genuine charisma, almost this cult of personality with the younger players, and he always gets them to buy into the program. That's why Tariq Woolen is looking like our new Richard Sherman, and Kenneth Walker is looking like our new beast mode. I mean,
I love Woolen. Woolen is awesome.
Oh my goodness! I mean, no disrespect to your Jets, but he's defensive rookie of the year. I mean, I'm calling it now.
Oh, Bennie.
Well, I mean, given when was he taken in the draft? What round? Right? It was,
I believe 3rd or 5th round, somewhere deep in the draft.
Just a freaky speed, but he hadn't shown
5th round.
The ability to.
He's 6'4".
Yeah,
he's 210 pounds.
He had all of those
insane.
measurables where you're like, oh my god, that pops off the screen, but he hadn't put it together in college.
4.26 40 too, by the way.
Yeah. No,
and credit to Pete and our general manager John Snyder. They have the ability to just pull rabbits out of hats, basically. Like, our drafts haven't been as good as they were last year in a while, but every so often it's like, hey, we got a new running back. Hey, we got this defense player. Like, we stole DK Metcalf. He was the steal of, I think it was the 2019 draft, basically, and he's now one of our most dynamic players.
Well,
so,
it's funny with the Hawks. It's funny with the Hawks that the first rounders have always been head scratchers, and the later round picks have been the guys who've actually made differences. In the sense that, they drafted LJ Collier in the first round, where people were like, "Why?" Jordan Brooks in the first round, like these off-ball linebackers. Rashawn Penny, who Penny was playing well this season, but they've definitely went for kind of lower ceiling, kind of like less valued first rounders, whereas the other guys, like you said, Metcalf, Kenneth Walker, Woolen, have these difference makers have been found for them in later rounds.
Yeah,
I think it's become a running gag that if Pete messes up in the first, he either messes up in the first round or he trades out, and because that's what he does a lot too. But I just want to say, when Tom Brady left New England, we kind of and immediately won a Super Bowl. We I'll reassess that, hey, maybe Tom Brady had a lot more to do with Belichick's success. And I think we're seeing that with Pete Carroll, is that
Totally.
no, Pete was there and the only person in the room to tell Russ no, basically. The only person in the room willing to limit Russ's mistakes. And now that...
And it pissed Russ off.
And I hate to do this... Exactly. And I hate to do this to you, Emma, but, I mean, he did beat Brian Dable. I mean, who else is going to... What are the coaches going to stand as the best one in the season?
I said this earlier in the show. This was the first time Dable got out-coached, and
Exactly,
you can see why. I mean, it's just a credit to Carroll to bolster your point.
Right.
That after all this time, he can coach those guys to be fundamentally sound and heady, and he also has a real jump on what the Giants were trying to do with their offense, which has been opportunistic and kind of scrappy all year. So appreciate the call. I think you make a really good case. It's Sirianni, it's Dable, and it's Carroll, I think, at this point.
I think it's a good pick.
Yeah.
One very last quick thing, Emma. I'm so glad that you brought up that Pete Carroll invited Lobster Boy into Seattle to talk to the players. You see,
football is a sport for gladiators.
That you're not cleaning your room, unlike Russell Wilson here, who has so many luster.
Let's ride.
Oh.
It must make Jordan feel so insecure to be in rooms with all of these alpha
Broncos
males.
country. Let's ride.
Let's ride. All right, thanks for the call, dude.
Thanks. Go
man.
Hawks, baby.
Go
Hawks. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. All right, let's take one more call, and then we're going to get out of here. 630. I think I knew who this is.
Hi, this is Ryan from Elk Grove.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I had it wrong. Ryan from Elk Grove. Elk Grove?
Elk Grove.
Elk Grove. This
Illinois.
is a follow-up for previous call.
Ryan, I have to ask you something, Ryan. Excuse me.
Yes.
Were you the one who called and said bears were poop in a butthole and then hung up?
No. You see, I was inquiring if they were indeed poop from a butt.
Yes.
And we laughed.
Well, we laughed. You hung up. You called for 3 seconds.
It was a question. That's correct. It was a question. I didn't need to elaborate, but this week I do, because now I am vindicated in inquiring.
Okay.
Because they are. That defense is poop from a butt. Thanks. I'll take my answer off the air.
Okay, bye, Ryan.
Oh, Ryan, you keep it up. You are a legend. Yes.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
And we
always say it.
They're going to be diarrhea from a butt now that they have lost Roquan Smith as well.
That's right.
Yes.
So.
All right. Well, with that said, that is the end of our call portion. We're going to read some IMs and get out of here. Boop, boop. Sorry. Voicemail is on. And we are off. Dave from Jamaica. Kyrie gave clues how to get him to stop saying dumb shit. He won't be respected as a thinker. Good old-fashioned mockery when he says dumb shit. It will humble him or drive him insane. Justin, a lot of 360 and 630 numbers. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot. I don't know what those area codes are, but 630 has got to be Chicago. Yeah, Chicago. We got a lot of Chicago fans, is what I'm saying. Fierce Deity. Bradley, I think you're confusing Dave Andrews with somebody else. You just mentioned him as somebody the Rams lost.
David Edwards?
On the Pats his whole career. Maybe that's who you're referring to, yeah. ESVN Forever says, thanks, Bradley, for Sunday dinner. 3-0, baby. I guess someone's ratting with
Yeah!
But if you did our, can't lose parlay, which was, I said 49ers minus 1.5, and Bradley was Titans minus 2.5, you would have...
Sorry, excuse me. David Edwards, he's still on the team. They didn't lose Edwards. They lost Austin Corbett and a few other. And then Whitworth retired.
Gotcha.
Thank you for the correction.
Yes. Emma's bookie, that's the problem with Wilson so far. The Jets were winning in spite of him. With Breece Hall gone, we need him to step up and make some plays to move the offense, and he did the exact opposite. It's only his second year, but the fan base doesn't seem to be prepared to throw away the playoffs for the sake of his development. Majority report wardrobe coordinator. Bradley, are you accusing Zach Wilson of having controller drift?
Yes.
What is that like when you play?
Controller drift is when like you're
playing a racing game.
You're playing a game, whether it's like you're driving a car and for some reason your car just keeps going to the left or going to the right. You can't do anything about it.
Gotcha. Okay. Boomer Socialist, Lamar Belichick and Brady in Lamar's second season. Just saying, that he's one of the few to have done that. Emma Mama said, when are you guys starting to clip this stuff? It's great. I can't remember if I read this yet, but yes, youtube.com/ESVN show.
That's
where
where our
you'll
clips
have
are,
all
and
the clips and OT.
OT.
So if you're watching this on Thursday, OT will be over on.
Yeah, I better see every single one of you. I better see every single one of you on the ESVN YouTube channel on Thursday at 4 p.m., okay?
And the final I am of the day. Mind Pillow Guy. In Kirk Cousins' defense, nobody's perfect.
You like that? You like that?
I don't get that.
I think he's just being nice.
Okay, but it says nobody's perfect in quotes. All right, well, I'll chew on that. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Rate us 5 stars
Any
on
thoughts
podcast
on
platforms. Tonight.
Bengals, Browns?
Well, what's the line now? Let's check this out.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh. How could we forget?
I basically had a perfect betting weekend, which is because I had the late. I had the late
breaking news.
Well, no, I knew I should. Whatever. I just like I knew the Patriots were going to win when I looked at that game, and I woke up on Sunday and I was like, okay, let me just actually place a bet on it.
It is still Bengals -3, seems.
Okay, so I'm gonna say, and the over/under is 40.
Over/under 45.
45. Sorry.
I think there might be a lot of points in this one, honestly. I think there's a potential there's a lot of points.
Well, the Browns defense sucks.
That's my thinking.
But at the same time, it's like you never know. Sometimes they decide to play, and it's not like the Bengals' offensive line is they played better, but they Myles Garrett could wreak havoc.
Right, absolutely.
I'm gonna say 27-20 Bengals. So that's over by 2 points. And that also definitely covers.
I'm going to say 28-27 Bengals.
28-27?
Yeah.
Wow, that close.
Yeah.
I just don't have any faith in the Browns.
I just think the run game and I think the Bengals defense is good. It's just they're not like great. And I think.
Are you just doing wishful thinking that I don't cover on my final best bet of the week?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Not that it matters because you went 3-0 and so now you're either going to have 3 games up on me or 4 games. That's like the end of the because I'm 1-1 or I'm 2-1 or 1-2.
You have to be lucky. You have to be good to be lucky,
God, it's just I'm starting to resent you.
That's what happens.
For winning.
That's what happens when you go head to head every week.
Yeah, I mean, really, truly. I can't even imagine divisional opponents play each other twice
imagine
a year.
that.
Now it's just we play each other every week.
And it's just 2 heads bumping together.
Yep. All right, guys, really appreciate you all. We have 27-20, 28-27. We both have the Bengals winning. I have the Bengals covering. Bradley does not. All right, guys, see you. And now I feel like now that you've said that, you've put the jinx on me. See you on Thursday on youtube.com/ESVN show. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Enjoy the game.